go online right now.
Your face.
Since the Newtown tragedy, many parents are wondering if arming teachers might be the answer to school safety. Some people are considering carrying guns themselves to protect innocent people in an emergency, but at least one father, a Green Beret, says that's the worst idea he can imagine. Retired Special Forces Officer Tony Schwalm joins me now to explain why. And Tony, good to have you with us. You say that civilians should not be carrying guns in public. Why is that?
First of all, what you're creating is a tactical situation with people that are not trained for a tactical situation. One person has a gun. Does anyone know that he knows how to use it? You're going from a very peaceful, a very secure setting into what most of us in the military understand to be the greatest crisis that you can face. And if you face that without training, you most likely will be a liability to yourself and to those around you.
And what about the idea of arming school officers? Do you think that's a good idea?
I think that you have to have someone in the school. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it's not just a simple security guard. It's someone who has the capacity to be an active defeat measure to something like what happened at Sandy Hook. You have to have something inside the school, someone inside the school who is capable of defeating what comes through the door.
And you say it's somebody above security officers. I assume you're talking not teachers.
No, I can't imagine a greater burden to give a teacher a responsibility to carry a weapon, especially after entering the profession to teach and then finding out that they're going to be the ballistic solution to a tactical situation which they may not be even psychologically prepared to handle. I think what we understood to happen in Connecticut was very, very brave people acting with great character within the resources they had. But you have to have someone backing that up, someone who can stop the threat. And so, it's not a teacher.
Well, let me ask you, it seems like you're talking a lot about training, someone who is trained for these types of situations. But even in the case where somebody is trained, it doesn't always mean it can go right? Like, for example, two people can be trained, but something happens, and they react, and they do something that puts other people in danger.
Absolutely, but there's a deterrent to knowing that there's someone in a school, and if you treat a school like a bank and not a prison, people understand when you go into a bank, there's probably something in there that's going to stop you if you try to hurt or take something, and that's what I'm talking about. Is someone who has sophisticated training, capable of meeting a threat like we saw in Connecticut.
That's an interesting example, like a bank. So when people walk in, they know this place is secure, so I better not do anything wrong. I read an op-ed piece that you did, and you talked about carrying a gun being a burden. I want you to tell me a little bit more about that term, burden, because I think a lot of people out there say, well, carrying a gun is my right. I can do that if I want to. It certainly isn't a burden to me.
The burden comes with the fact that you have self-selected, and I'm talking about in a civilian, in a normal social setting in the United States. You have self-selected to be the sheepdog. And when I'm under arms, wherever I've been when I was carrying a weapon, I was painfully aware that I was the one responsible for making sure that things did not go badly. The issue of carrying a weapon, especially putting that on a teacher or putting that on someone who's never trained in that setting, the risk of losing the weapon, the risk of pulling the weapon and shooting an undercover cop, which actually happened here in Florida not long ago. I think people need to really put their mind around what it means when they decided to take lethal, deadly force into their own hands without the sophistication of training or the emotional preparation to enforce it, to use it.
It's a very big responsibility, and as you say, training is key. Thank you so much.
Well, Christmas is the season of giving, and there are thousands of orphans that can sure